जी हेलो वेलकम एंड नमस्ते एवरीबॉडी।
भैया
सभी को
नमस्ते।
नमस्ते। जी जी अखिलेश भैया नमस्ते, वेलकम। सो लाइक टू वेलकम ऑल द family member co-explorer for our weekly follow meeting of holistic health. We have our beloved Dr. Akhilesh Bhaiya with us. Ji Akhilesh Bhaiya namaste. What are we going to discuss today?
भैया we will discuss about the lifestyle measures
Hmm.
for prevention of type 2 diabetes mellitus.
We are discussing last to last week. Continuation of that, no भैया, I think.
जी भैया।
जी nice, nice. Thank you. Over to you भैया. Welcome.
जी भैया।
नमस्ते.
जी भैया। भैया may I know whether this slide is visible or not?
Yes, yes, yes. Slide is visible and voice is also clear.
जी भैया।
Yes, welcome.
So in this today's health session we will discuss about the lifestyle measures which are helping in prevention from diabetes mellitus. So whenever I am discussing diabetes here in the college, in the Ayurveda college, so always I ask from the students, is there any student in whose family there is no diabetic patient? And out of 75 students, rarely any student will say that none of my relatives and my parents are diabetic. So we are free from diabetic. Very rarely. So we can understand how this disease has crippled the Indian population. But if we think properly about this, so the basic cause of this diabetes mellitus, especially the type 2 diabetes mellitus, actually this disease is our own creation. We are responsible for suffering with this disease. And with proper lifestyle and dietary changes, we can prevent this disease. And we can easily, even those who are already diagnosed with the diabetes, they can easily control this disease, and even without medication they can live healthy life. So we will discuss about this. So you all know that diabetes mellitus is basically the inadequate control of blood glucose. So that means the glucose which is present in the blood is high, hyperglycemia. So there is inadequate control of the glucose which is present in the blood, and that condition we say as the diabetes. And there are many sub classifications of this diabetes. So mainly we will discuss about the type 2, but we will also know very briefly about what are the other types of diabetes are there. So many of our listeners, they are in between 20 to 40 age group. So this is the diabetes, that is maturity onset diabetes of the young. This diabetes usually occurs before the age of 25, and in some of the cases it occurs even up to the 40 years of age. Generally we say that the person will become diabetic after fourth or fifth decade, but this is the form of diabetes which occurs to our young population. And here there will be abnormally high blood glucose level is found in our blood. So this particular disease, that is maturity onset diabetes of the young, actually this is because of the mutation of the gene, and this is monogenic diabetes mellitus. And here one single gene, monogenic, when I say, it means one single gene is responsible for manifestation of this particular condition. And many a times what happen is this disease go undiagnosed. The person will suffer, he will have some symptoms, the same symptoms which happens in the diabetes, that is polyuria, that means excess of urination, frequent urination, and he will be having thirst and increased hunger, lethargy, weight loss. These all problems will be there, but because the age is not such, so he will not think about that he may be suffering with diabetes. And when this high blood glucose level will continue for longer time, it will create severe damage to our eyes, to our kidney, our nervous system. So all these things are severely affected when this condition goes undiagnosed. This another type of diabetes we find here is gestational diabetes. So gestational diabetes is seen in the during the period of pregnancy. During the period of pregnancy, what happens is, because the diet and lifestyle is completely changed, and now the pregnant woman, she has to take food for his growing fetus also. So because a life is growing inside her womb, so it happens that many a times we find that the blood glucose level is very high, and that condition we say as the gestational diabetes mellitus. And this lady is not diabetic, she was not diagnosed with diabetes before the pregnancy, but during the pregnancy, because there is a change of dietary pattern, there is a change of her physical activities, the blood glucose level will be high. And again, this diabetes is classified in two ways. One where just control with the diabetes, control with the diet, the blood glucose level can be maintained to the normal level, and in some of the cases the medicine is required. The third category is neonatal diabetes. This is very rare genetic disease, and it is found 1 in 90,000 live births. So very rare disease. And here the infant before the age of six months or sometimes up to 1 year is diagnosed with the hyperglycemia. And this condition happens because there is no secretion of insulin, complete absence of insulin, or there will be very less production of insulin. So insulin is produced by the pancreas. So there may be some defect in the pancreatic cells, especially the beta cells which produce insulin. So the insulin is not secreted, and because the insulin is a hormone which is responsible for the utilization of this glucose which is present in the blood, the cells can utilize the glucose only in the presence of insulin. So when insulin is not there, the blood glucose is not utilized by the cells, and there will be hyperglycemia. So that is seen in the children within 1 year of age. That condition is called as neonatal diabetes. And in some of the disease conditions, doctor prescribes steroids, mainly the glucocorticoids. So steroid will also cause hyperglycemia. So it is very important that the person who is already diabetes, if the doctor has prescribed steroid to him or her, then they have to be very careful about their blood glucose level. And even in the non-diabetic person, when he is taking steroid, this steroid will cause hyperglycemia, and that condition we say steroid is induced diabetes. And when this medicine is stopped, gradually the blood glucose will come down, and in some of the cases only we require some anti-glycemic or some diabetic medicines. Type 1 diabetes. So this condition is autoimmune condition. Autoimmunes simply means that our body defense system attacks our own cells. So when our immune system is attacking our own cells, it destroys the pancreas and the beta cells of pancreas. Because of this destruction, there will be no production of the insulin, and the person will need insulin. So this condition, previously it was named as insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. Present now the nomenclature which is followed in the medical fraternity is type 1 diabetes mellitus. So this is autoimmune condition, and this is polygenic. So that means multiple genes are involved for this condition. And to control this condition, we require insulin. Coming to the type 2 diabetes mellitus. Actually, the type 2 diabetes mellitus, like among all types of diabetes, the 90% are coming under the type 2 diabetes mellitus. So here also the blood glucose is very high. That condition we say as hyperglycemia. And we know that the glucose is the main source of energy which comes from our food which we eat. So whatever food we are eating, it undergoes digestion, and then glucose is formed inside after the digestion, and this glucose we are utilizing for our functions. All the cells, they require glucose for their energy, and the insulin is required, and it helps for the utilization of the glucose. So when there is a persistent hyperglycemia, and it may happen because of the impaired insulin secretion by pancreas, or it may be because the insulin is not well utilized by the body. That condition we say as insulin resistance. So sometimes it happens that there will be insulin resistance, and this insulin which is present in our blood, that will not be utilized, and in such condition we require extra insulin, so that the glucose which is very high in our blood, that will be utilized by our cells. So when insulin is not well utilized, and in some of the cases both are present, that means there is no secretion and there will be insulin resistance also. So in this kind of situation, what happens is the glucose stays in the blood, and whenever we test, when we take the blood sample, there will be hyperglycemia, or there will be increased glucose level. So that condition only we say as the diabetes. Coming to the prevalence and epidemiology of this type 2 diabetes mellitus. So this is from the WHO facts file. So in the 2040, 8.5% of adults aged 18 years and older had diabetes. So you can imagine what kind of situation we are. So how this diabetes has become a pandemic. And in the 2019, so diabetes was the 9th leading cause of the death, with an estimated 1.5 million deaths directly caused by diabetes. So as we briefly discussed, that the diabetes will create so many complications. It will create problems for the eyes, problems for the kidney, problems for the heart, and many a times when the person is diagnosed with diabetes, we also consider this person as cardiac patient. So because this will affect our heart functions also. So because of such kind of complications, even the mortality is very high, and it is known to be the one of the leading cause, the 9th cause of death worldwide. And again, the diabetes is a major cause of blindness, kidney failure, heart attack, stroke, and lower limb amputation. You may have seen that some of the diabetic patients, when they have some injury in their legs, so it will not heal, the wound will not heal because of the presence of the high glucose in the blood. This glucose will serve as the media, and it will be very fertile ground for the bacteria and many other infections. So this wound will not heal, and the condition will come when the doctor will say that they have to cut the any finger, or they have to cut even the leg sometimes. So this is one of the major cause of the limb amputation when the condition is not well controlled. More than 95% of people with diabetes have type 2 diabetes. So whatever the other conditions like the steroid based diabetes or the gestational diabetes, neonatal diabetes, or the diabetes in the young age, these covers only 5%. The major is 95% is type 2 condition. And this condition is largely the result of excess body weight and physical inactivity. So you all know that because of development, all the urbanization and technological advancements, gradually the population is becoming more and more physically inactive. And actually, this is not our body used to. Our body requires enough physical activity to be healthy, but we are becoming more and more physically inactive. And we have all kinds of food available to us. On a phone call, you can even order anything. Even the some continental food is available to your door, just a phone call away. So one thing is happening is we are taking very high calorie diet, and we are becoming physically inactive. So that will lead to the overweight or obesity, and this obesity will become a very fertile ground for all kinds of problems. So one such problem is diabetes, and many other problems like the cardiac issues, the hypertension, and many other things are related with our obesity or overweight, and also the physical inactivity. So healthy diet, regular physical activity, maintaining a normal body weight, and avoiding tobacco, alcohol. These are the some ways through which we can prevent type 2 diabetes mellitus. So what are the possible causes of type 2 diabetes? So overweight and obesity. So when our body mass index is going more than 25, we have to be very careful. We have to keep it within 23. So body mass index you can easily calculate with your body weight and height in meter square. So you calculate the height weight in centimeter, convert into the meter, and the body weight divide it with the height in meter square. There are amples of Android apps available through which you can measure your BMI. And when BMI is high, you have to be very careful. You have to maintain your weight. Otherwise, after some times, it may lead to onset of diabetes mellitus. Then physical inactivity, sedentary life. Already I told that we are becoming the previous generations. If you see your father, mother, and your grandfather, grandmother, they were physically very active, and we are becoming very inactive. So that is becoming cause for so many diseases. Then genetic and family history. The person whose parents and relatives they are diagnosed with diabetes, he has to be extra careful because the chances of onset of diabetes is high in that person. Why it is high? It is because many a times we adopt the lifestyle and the dietary pattern which our parents are following. So when our parents, their lifestyle is not healthy, they are suffering with, they already they are suffering with the diabetes. So the chances, because we are also following, we are also taking the same dietary pattern, so the chances of becoming diabetes is very high. So we have to correct our diet and lifestyle. So the person whose relative parents they are diabetic, so the chances of that person becoming diabetic is very high. Then insulin resistance, in some of the person where there is insulin resistance, so the insulin is not well utilized, and because of that there will be hyperglycemia, excess of glucose will present in the blood, and that will lead to the diabetes mellitus. Then who are the person in the risk of diabetes? So the person who is age is above 40. So with the progressive age, again, this is true that we are becoming more and more physically inactive as the age is progress. The children, they are very physically active, so they will not suffer. Even the adult time, we have to run, we have to do so many things. So we will be somewhat physically active. But as the age progresses, we are becoming physically inactive, and that is becoming the cause for the manifestation of diabetes. Then family history, overweight and obese, then low HDL. HDL is high density lipid, which is good cholesterol. So cholesterol is bad cholesterol and good cholesterol both. Good cholesterol is required for proper functioning, and the bad cholesterol is harmful. So when the person is having low good cholesterol and high bad cholesterol, high triglycerides and LDL, low density, or VLDL, very low density lipids, these are high. So that is also a risk factor for the diabetes. The person who is living sedentary life. So there is one quote in ancient medical text that Sukha Pratiseda Sukhana Miti. So we have to avoid all the luxuries to be happy or to be healthy. So having all kinds of luxuries, enjoying all comforts, so that is becoming the cause of ill health. That is becoming cause for manifestation of so many diseases. So we have to be more and more physically active. Maybe we have capacity to have all kinds of comfort, we may be having all kinds of luxuries, but it is better to avoid and be more and more physically active, and that will save you from onset of diabetes mellitus. And again, the psychological issues such as depression. So depression is also becoming cause for the many of people. To avoid depression or to avoid anger, they will take more and more food, so they will consume more, and they are depressed, so they will not be active. So that is also becoming the cause for manifestation of diabetes mellitus. So what are the symptoms we see? So there will be increased thirst. Person will require more than the normal quantity of water what we drink. So a healthy person generally require 2.8 to 3.5 liters of water in a day. In a ideal condition, that means when the temperature is not too high, as it is now in the summer season, it reaches 40 plus. But when the temperature is between 20 to 30 degree or 30 degrees Celsius, in that condition we require only 2.8 to 3 liters of water in a day. If a person is needed feeling thirsty and require more quantity of water, so that is indication that his blood glucose level may be high. Then increased urination. So normally we urinate 4 to 5 times in a day, and night one time, but this person will have increased frequency of urination, increased hunger. So he will require more food every time he will feel hungry. Blurred vision, tiredness, he will feel very tired. And non-healing of the wound. Suppose if any small cut is there, so it will not heal. As I already told, that the presence of high level of glucose in the blood will become a very fertile ground for the bacterial growth and infections. So if there is wound which is not healing, so that is giving the indication that blood glucose level may be high. Then unexplained weight loss. So suppose a person suddenly in a 2 to 3 months of his span, he is losing 8 kg of weight. So that is also indication that the person's glucose level may be very high and he is suffering with diabetes. So whenever the person is having these kind of symptoms, he has to be very, very careful and he has to contact the doctor and go to the routine blood investigations, and there is a chance that he may be suffering with diabetes mellitus. So what is the normal blood glucose level? So the blood glucose level is generally measured in the millimoles per liter or milligram per deciliter, mg per dl. So that figure you will find in your, whenever you are going for testing your blood glucose, this is the figure you will find. So the normal plasma glucose level are defined as under 100. In the fasting, your blood glucose level will be within 100, and after food, usually we say that postprandial, that is you consume your normal diet, and after 2 hours of that, after 2 hours of the intake of food, give the blood sample, and it should be within 140 mg per dl, so milligram per deciliter. So if the blood glucose fasting is within 100 and the post lunch is within 140, this is the healthy range. So what will be the range of pre-diabetes? That means the person is not diabetic, but he is in the risk and sooner he will become diabetic. And this is the alarming sign that the person has to be very careful and he has to suddenly cut down his extra fat and extra glucose intake or the sugar food intake. He has to be more and more physically active. So this pre-diabetic condition, so when the range is between the fasting blood glucose is between 100 to 125 mg milligram per deciliter. So within 100 it is normal, and when it is going above 100 up to 125, that means he is pre-diabetic stage. And to confirm whether the person is having diabetes or not, or he is in the pre-diabetic, so we go for the glucose tolerance test. So glucose tolerance test, it usually done to confirm whether the person is diabetic or not. So what we do is we say the person to have normal diet, that is at least 150 gram of carbohydrate per day for the next, for the 3 days prior checking to the prior going for the glucose tolerance test. Then we say that have fasting for nearly 12 to 16 hours, and then we give 75 gram of glucose, that is mixing with water we ask to drink, and then we check his, after 2 hours we check his blood glucose level. So if it is between 140 to 199 mg per dl, that means he is in the pre-diabetic stage. And if it is crossing 200, so that means he is now reached to the diabetes. And to for the diabetes, like whenever the patient comes, usually we first initially we go for the random blood glucose level. So if random blood glucose level is more than 200, so that is confirming that the patient is diabetic. And if the fasting blood glucose level it is 125, one going above 125, that is 126 and above, within in between 100 and 125, that is the pre-diabetic stage fasting blood glucose. And if it is crossing 125, 126 and above, so that is indicative that the person is likely to have diabetes. Then one more test we do, that is HbA1c, glycated hemoglobin. So this glucose molecule, they combine with hemoglobin, and this, the hemoglobin which is in the combination of glucose, that we say as the glycated hemoglobin. The hemoglobin has lifespan nearly 60 to 120 days. So whenever we check for the HbA1c, so it gives the data of last 3 to 4 months, our levels of glucose, whether it was maintained or it was high. So that data we can get with the test of HbA1c, that is glycated hemoglobin. So the normal range is between 3.5 to 6. So if the HbA1c level is within 3.5 and 6, so that means he is normal, non-diabetic, healthy person. So if it is crossing 5, crossing 6, that is 3.5 to 6 is normal. If it is crossing 6 and it is 6.5 and going above 6.5, that the person is diabetes. And if it is going beyond 7, so that person actually requires medication. Up to 6.5, with the diet and lifestyle, it is possible to come to the normal level. But if it is crossing 7, so that is indicative that the person is requiring some uh, medicine to control the blood glucose level. So what are the lifestyle measures which we have to follow to prevent from the diabetes mellitus? So we have to achieve the and maintain a healthy body weight. So if our BMI is high, body mass index, if we measure and it is high, so we have to come to the normal weight, and we have to see that we should be physically active enough that our body should not get vain, should not gain weight. And we have to do at least 30 minutes of physical activity, some exercises or some fast walking, at least 30 minutes every day. So most of the days, in at least 5 to 6 days or every day, we have to do at least 30 minutes of brisk walking or some exercise which makes us perspirate, which makes us sweat. So that much physical activity at least we have to do every day. Then we have to control our sugar intake and saturated fat intake. We have to control. So most of the junk food, fast food, they have very uh, high sugar and very, they are loaded with the fats, so that we have to avoid. Then alcohol, tobacco, these all are the increasing risk of our diabetes. So if any person is taking, he has to completely stop intake of this alcohol or smoking. Then we have to follow the healthy lifestyle. So we have discussed several times in our health session about the daily regimen, seasonal regimen, healthy sleep habits. So these all we have to follow. We have to follow the routine. We have to wake up early morning. Then we have to do all the necessary cleansing of all the senses, and we have to take healthy diet. So those all, if you are following, then definitely we can prevent the onset of diabetes mellitus. Then we have to avoid stress. So any psychological issues, psychological problems, we have to make conducive environment, pleasant environment around in our family, in our working place. So that will make us healthy, and that will also help us to avoid many of the problems. And one such problem is diabetes mellitus, which we say as the lifestyle disorder or the non-communicable disease. So that is because of the unhealthy lifestyle, it affects us. So involving in yoga and meditation. So yoga and meditations, that if you do, the meditation will help in many ways to make your mind peaceful. And yogic exercises such as Surya Namaskara and many others, that will help a lot for keeping your body healthy, and it will also help to maintain your ideal body weight. So avoid sugar-based cold drinks or the energy drinks. So many of this soda and other cold drinks which the people take, it is highly loaded with the sugar, so that we have to completely avoid. Many of the energy drinks that also contains lot of sugar, so that we have to strictly avoid. And we have to take whole grain green leafy vegetables. So this whole grain and green leafy vegetables that will help us to maintain the ideal body weight. Also it will good for our digestive system, and it will also not increase our blood glucose level, because all the leafy vegetables, green vegetables, they are having low glycemic index, so they are healthy food and that will not increase. But all other, like the fast food, junk food, preserved food, they are all very unhealthy food, and that we have to strictly avoid. Then include small portions of fruits in your diet. So we have to regularly take several fruits are there, seasonal fruits, we have to take that. And these all will help to keep your body very healthy, energetic, and you will also be free from several disorders including diabetes mellitus. So there are several research publications which proves that healthy diet, healthy lifestyle, yogic practices, they are helpful for prevention, and they have significant role in preventing type 2 diabetes mellitus. So this is one article which says that the dietary and nutritional approaches for prevention of type 2 diabetes. There are other other publications also. So this is one publication which says that prevention and control of the type 2 diabetes by changing lifestyle and dietary patterns. So you can understand that diet and lifestyle is a key factor. And this is a very good approach. You need not have to pay anything. You need not have to go anywhere. You have to just be aware of your diet and lifestyle, be physically active, and you will be free from this problem. And again, the importance of yoga, effectiveness of yoga based lifestyle protocol in preventing diabetes. So this research publication is from the Swami Vivekananda Yoga Anusandhan Sansthan, Bengaluru. So this yoga sanstana has produced maximum number of research paper on yoga, and they also started SDM program, Stop Diabetes Mellitus program. So they did it all over the India, and they found very good results, and they found that it is helping a lot to prevent from diabetes and many other non-communicable diseases. Not only just diabetes, but many other non-communicable diseases such as your cardiac problem, your obesity, your this hypertension. All these things you can prevent through healthy lifestyle, healthy dietary pattern involving in yoga, meditation, all those things. So this is in brief about the lifestyle measures helping in prevention from manifestation of diabetes mellitus. Jibia, we have some time, and if any of the participants they would like to share something or they have any query, they can please ask.
Yes, Bhaiya, namaste.
Ji, Didi, namaste.
Very good session. Excellent explanation about diabetes. Yeah, what question I'm having is like, as you said, ki these pregnant women also develop diabetes while they are during pregnancy, and the child, that is neonatal. So neonatal is the outcome of that diabetes?
See, when mother is diabetic, the chances of the child having diabetes is high. But in some of the cases, like neonatal diabetes, when the pancreas is not producing insulin, or it is producing insulin very less in quantity. So as I already told that the insulin is required for utilization of the glucose which is present in the blood. The cells can utilize glucose. The glucose is available. The cells needs it. But what happens is, unless there is a presence of insulin, they will not be able to utilize.
Okay.
That if the newborn who is within 6 months of age or even up to 1 year of age,
Yes.
if some problem is there in the pancreas, especially in the beta cells of pancreas, and these pancreas beta cells are not producing insulin. So in that condition, what happens is there will be high blood glucose level.
Yes.
If it is found in the neonate within 1 year of age, we say this as the neonatal diabetes. Not necessary that the mother is diabetic and then it will happen. Even in the non-diabetic mother, this is possible.
Yes, yes. I know one female. She was having this problem. Now she is married. I was seeing her from 1 year old. That time she was detected this. So that is what I wanted to know, that it is with the inherent or from the mother or neonatal problem. So thank you, Bhaiya, for answering my question. And well, she is having 2 more sisters. They are all right, normal. They don't have all this problem.
This is possible.
Yeah. Thank you, Bhaiya, for answering my question. God bless.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Hello.
Ji, Didi? Ji?
I just wanted to ask that plants like Costus igneus, also called insulin plant or Gudmar, these are some natural plants which do help. How do they help in the control of diabetes?
See this Gudamar and other, the people take it liberally without understanding what it is affecting and what kind of effect it is having in our body. Actually, basically, I will tell about the traditional system of medicine. We classify the diabetic patient in 2 categories. So there are, you will also, if you look carefully, you will find 2 types of diabetes. One person is who is obese and diabetic, and second group is who is lean and diabetic. Both the condition we will find if you see. So the treatment approach for the person who is obese and diabetic is different from the person who is lean and diabetic. So actually the Gudamar is helping, and if it is given in a proper way, there is a method how much you give, for how long you give, because the diabetes is condition where the person is require medicine for a very long time. And because of this, because there is a defect in production or utilization of the insulin, so he requires medicine for longer period. And in such condition, the Gudamar is not a very good option. So only in some conditions we give this Gudamar. So basically anything which is bitter in taste, we say that anything which is tikta rasa, that will help to reduce the blood glucose level or the hyperglycemia. But when to give, how long to give, and we have to see the patient, because the Gudamar, if a person is who is lean and diabetic, if he is consuming Gudamar, it will create so many other problems to that person. Especially he will feel lot of difficulty in passing the urine, and in after some time he will even feel constipation. So there are limitations of using these medicines.
Hello.
Ji bhaiya.
I want to ask one thing, that there is one lady 50 plus, and I knew her. She was suffering from this diabetes, and she came to condition near gangrene through toes. So doctor told her that your condition is serious, and you have to walk minimum 6 kilometers a day. This is the very good way for you. And earlier she tried many medicines, but she was not convinced, and she got some kind of internal fear also. So one yoga teacher suggested her to walk only 6 kilometers per day, and he told her that you don't worry and see the result after couple of months. And she did it religiously. Like if it is raining in the morning, she will take umbrella and she will go for a walk. And after 8 months or 9 months, her diabetic level was almost normal. So it's a good example. So person I met about this severe diabetes, I suggest them that you go with the doctor's treatment, but simultaneously if you walk per day 6 kilometers, it will help you very much, as I think. So it is good suggestion for new person also.
Yeah, exactly. See, being physically active, our body is designed in such a way that it needs regular physical activity. The more and more you are physically active, the more and more you will be free from all kinds of problems. But if you enjoy the luxuries, if you enjoy the comfort, so this comfort will bring you a lot of other health issues. So the person who wants to be prevented from these kind of problems, he has to be physically active enough. And the person who is already suffering with some problems, some like hypertension, diabetes, or any, especially today's session is on diabetes. So if a person is already suffering with the diabetes, if he will be physically active, definitely his blood glucose level, because the cells, they will utilize the presence of the glucose which is present in the blood, and that way gradually he will, and when he is physically active, his organs are also stimulated. So there will be production of good amount of insulin from the pancreas also. So that way there will be lot of benefits of doing yoga and physical activity. So what you told is very, very correct. And being physically active is very, very essential for control of the diabetes. No matter whether you are taking the right dose of medicine and you are taking whatever the doctor has prescribed, you are following dietary habits also, but you have to be physically active. And the gangrene is again because of the one of the complication of diabetes is neuropathy. So the neuropathy, when it develops, what happens is we will not be having proper sensation in our foot. So anything which is, when we are walking, something which will pierce in our foot or some small wound or a small cut, we will not feel any pain. But because the blood glucose is very high, slowly there will be infection. And the worst thing is there will be very big wound, but you will not feel any pain. You will not feel any difficulty. And this wound will gradually develop. And the gangrene is, this is what initially she may have suffered, and that has developed the gangrene. And again, the gangrene is also, there is a wet gangrene and there is a dry gangrene. So if it is dry gangrene, it will spread very slowly. If it is wet gangrene, it will spread very fast. And many a times when the person is having gangrene, the doctor will suggest to go for amputation. So they will cut that affected part so that it should not again further increase. So that is what is advised when the gangrene is developed. So the gangrene, in normal language we say that the part is completely putrefied. So
and why does it start from the toes? Because people
normally
don't
when
care.
we walk, when we walk, what happens is something is little hit, some hit or some stone or some any thorn, something will pierce. But because we do not have sensation, so we will not feel any pain, and we will not protect the foot. See, we are protecting because something is piercing, and if it is piercing, I will suddenly withdraw because I have the sensation, pain sensation. But in the diabetic person, because of the neuropathy, what happens is he will not be having sensation. So he will not be very protective. He will just walk. And if something is hit, something is piercing, he will not be aware. When he will not be aware, then this will gradually become the cause of infection. And after some, because of the negligence, the condition will reach to this gangrene formation. So gangrene is almost, it has reached to the stage where the doctor will say that you have to cut it.
So I think it is advisable to the person who are suffering from diabetes, they should take care of their feet.
Definitely. Actually, in the normal routine, because this session we discussed mainly about the preventive aspects. So I did not say much about what happens when the diabetes is
Okay, okay.
uncontrolled, what happens after long run of, even the person whose diabetes in control after 10 years, there are chances of developing so many problems. So especially three problems we say that the diabetic person will have. One is nephropathy. Nephropathy is problem of the kidney. The kidney damage will happen. The second thing is neuropathy. Neuropathy means nervous system will not work properly. The third thing is retinopathy. So the retina, the blindness occurs in the diabetic person whose blood glucose level is not controlled. So after 10 years, many of the people, they will have blurred vision or diminished vision because of the retinal damage. And when the retina is damaged, there is no cure. So no doctor can help you. The only thing is you have to control your blood glucose level. So the diabetes itself is not a big problem. The diabetes will become the cause of many of the problems. So only we say that it is a kind of syndrome, metabolic syndrome. So it has so many possibilities of creating lots and lots of problems. It will create cardiac problem, renal problem, you're increasing the chance of a stroke, and some vascular pathology. That means like the gangrene, etc. It is because of the lack of blood supply to the body part. So many things it will create. So it is very, very important that we should be physically active enough to prevent from the diabetes. And if the person is already suffering with diabetes, he has to be extra careful about his diet and lifestyle, and he has to be extra physically active to control his blood glucose level.
Thank you, sir.
जी भैया.
Good evening, sir. Can you hear
Sir,
my voice?
namaste.
Namaste. We sometimes the diabetic patient don't use sugar. White sugar they have in doctor advice don't use. Can we use that time brown sugar, or without sugar can I take tea or coffee?
So the person who is already diabetic, he has to minimize, and he has to regularly check his blood glucose level. If blood glucose level are normal, he can have some amount of sugar. See, it is not just the sugar. Actually, whatever food we take, okay, ultimately it becomes glucose in the body, and then only from the glucose we get the energy. So because we say that the glycemic index of the food, so we recommend the food items which has low glycemic index to the person who is already already having diabetes. But even the diabetic person, if he is having normal blood glucose level, he can have a small quantity of sugar, sweets, etc. But the only thing is, whenever he is taking these kind of food items, he has to be aware that he has to do some extra physical activity so that this extra intake of sugar is utilized by the body. So there should be always balance of intake and expenditure. So whatever the amount of energy calories you are taking, so you should be aware that I should utilize this calorie. Otherwise, this will increase your blood glucose level. So that is the basic thing the person has to be aware of. And compared to the market white sugar, it is good that the person should shift to the naturally made sugar, or the brown sugar what you are saying. So that is even better from this white sugar.
Thank you. But basically, exercise, physical exercise, walking to improve our health.
Definitely, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Physical activity, yoga, meditation, diet control, these all are the key factors.
Yes.
And the person who is very carefully or very dedicatedly doing this, even the medicine is not required. With the diet and lifestyle, he can maintain his blood glucose level even after diagnosing with the diabetes.
Is it any effect of salt, sodium chloride? Normally we add the salt content in the food. Is it related to sugar?
No, salt is mainly the excess of sodium is having direct effect on our hypertension, that is blood pressure, not directly with our blood glucose level. So again, the diabetes, when the person is diabetic, I told that he is also understood, or he is also tagged with having cardiac issue. So the sodium in this salt intake, sugar intake, fat intake, here to control all. In general, we require nearly 5 to 6 gram of sodium chloride or salt in a day. But many of the people, they take much more than that, what is required for our body. And there are so many issues related with the salt also, because we take excess of salt. So we have to be careful, and we have to take only the required amount of salt, not the excess of salt.
Okay, thank you.
CPI, if any participant, they have any query about this topic or any other topic also, they may ask.
Namaste, Bhaiya.
Ji.
Yeah, in my opinion, what I have observed is if there is proper intake of protein, vitamin, mineral, good fat, and along with it, consumption of this madhunashini, that helps a lot
Ji.
in curing this sugar or diabetes.
Ji, ji.
Hmm?
Ji. Yeah. Many people, they take this madhunashini, and many of the people, they are getting benefit also. But what I suggest is, it's always better to prevent from to adopt the preventive measure, so that you should not suffer with these problems. And if the problem is already manifested, then also along with medicine, there is a significant role of your diet and lifestyle. If a person who is not following the diet and lifestyle, if he think that just taking the medicine will enough for controlling the diabetes, then he is wrong. Gradually what happen is, whatever the medicine he is taking, whether allopathic or Ayurveda, gradually the dose will increase. And when the person is having persistent high blood glucose level, the organs will gradually damage. And mainly it will affect your kidney, your eyes, your heart. So all these organs will be severely affected.
Prevention is better than cure. That is the right thing. Right. Thank you.
CBI, it's 8:30 bhaiya. If any participant, they want to share their experiences, or if any question. Yeah, measures to reduce the increased urination problem. See, if the person is having diabetes and he is suffering with increased urination problem, then again, once the blood glucose level will be controlled, then his urination problem will also be controlled. It is just indicative there is a hyperglycemia or increased blood glucose level. So because of that, the person is having this increased frequency of urination. Once this blood glucose level will come to normal, his frequency of urination will also come to the normal. So there is no separate approach for this urine problem. Again, if the person is having increased frequency of urination and he is not having diabetes, only this is the problem. So there can be several causes for this, and that we can discuss separately. But diabetes with increased frequency of urination, that requires management of the diabetes, not the management of increased frequency of urination. And again, one person has written that shunti, tok, all these things are helping. So actually, this is the beauty of our traditional cooking. So in the traditional cooking, we uses many of the spices, and these spices, they are very, very helpful for the proper digestion and even for reducing the blood glucose level. So like the shunti and this tok, that is this dalchini, that we use in our traditional cooking. So many of the things which are there in our kitchen, like the haldi, the amla, this shunti, marich, pipali, tok, patraka, so then that is tej patta. Actually, these all are having action on the diabetes. So the person who is suffering, he can have these kind of things in his food, and even having these the traditional Indian cooking, that will also help to prevent from the manifestation of the diabetes. So this is the beauty of our food, which our ancestors have designed, and they have given this healthy dietary pattern to us.
Ji bhaiya, very nice bhaiya. I was listening to the discussion, and it's really necessary and important for us to be aware of so many aspects of our eating habits in tune with the self-regulation. As most of the time we are leading a life which is more mechanical than the natural way in how we are required to be living as a human being. And with that, even the food habits have become a very quick to eat kind of a food habit. We were just discussing a day back that the proper traditional way of eating a meal, like we used to eat at our home during the times of our dadi and nani, that has literally gone. It's a quick bite all the time, bhaiya. And that is leading to, it's a quick bite, you know, even I want to get done and वो छोटा सा एक मील खा लो और पेट भर जाए और इतना लंबा चौड़ा बनाने का समय नहीं निकाल रहे हैं जो अपनी अज्ञानता से ही कर रहे हैं. You know, the more, हाँ, जो हम प्रॉपर एक बैठ करके मील खाते थे वो तो सब अब लुप्त हो गया है. शायद सप्ताह में एक दिन ही ऐसा हो पाता है. जी. And that is what it is resulting in. So many body related ailments and our lifestyle related issues with our negligence itself. So nice, bhaiya. Though I see Dr. Pankaj ji's hand is still risen. If Pankaj ji would put forward a very quick one-liner, it will be appreciable. Otherwise, we are already over time. Namaste, Pankaj bhaiya.
नमस्ते दीदी। नमस्ते दीदी।
जी नमस्ते भैया।
हेलो।
जी भैया।
जी दीदी।
जी तो भैया if you would like to put a quick
डॉक्टर साहब से एक क्वेरी है।
जी भैया।
ये जो ओवर वेट है, मतलब हाइट 5 feet 9 inch and weight is 83 kg, 82 kg. Only belly, stomach is or belly is excess. How can reduce my belly? Rest of things, rest of the body is normal. How can reduce my weight? जी भैया।
Yeah, actually the central obesity, what do you say that the increased belly, और जिसको हम बोलते हैं कि पेट निकल आया है।
जी 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 exactly.
So that is actually, this is central obesity, and that is very typically seen in the Indian population. So most of the people, they have the lean hands and legs, but they have a what do we say, the protruded abdomen. So पेट निकला हुआ रहेगा और हाथ पांव पतले पतले रहेंगे, ऐसा बहुत बार देखने को मिलता है।
जी जी, बाकी सब नॉर्मल है।
हाँ जी जी जी। So again, there is the control of diet involving in physical activity, and some of the yogic practices will help you, which will strengthen your abdominal muscles. So when their abdominal muscles are strengthened, actually that will the belly which is protruded out, that will gradually it will come down. So you have to involve in some yogic practices such as Kapalbhati, Padahastasana or Uttan Padasana. These all will help you to strengthen your abdominal muscles and also to reduce the fat which is accumulated there. And definitely the diet is again, so you have to see how much fat intake is there, and you have to control your fat intake. Fat is required, but you have to control it, take only to the normal quantity which is required. And see, the reducing obesity is a long term plan. It will not happen in just following 1 week, 10 days, and you will think that the belly will come down. It will take some time. So you have to persistently follow the dietary habits and yogic practices. You have to continuously do, and definitely you will get the normal shape.
बहुत अच्छा भैया। Yogic practice is going on, but 1 month and 1.5 months, it becomes discontinued. It seems I have not self-regularized. After some gap, that is 2 weeks, 3 weeks, then मैं फिर से शुरू करता हूँ, और 1.5 महीना 2 महीना किया फिर, तो वेट पर उससे बहुत मतलब बेली पर कोई असर नहीं आता है।
जी 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 जी।
और इधर थोड़ा फिजिकल एक्टिविटी थोड़ा कम हो गया है, ये कोविड के कारण भी।
जी जी भैया। भैया सेंट्रल ओबेसिटी को रिड्यूस करना ये ज्यादा चैलेंजिंग है। बाकी फैट जो है, जैसे बटक्स में है और बाकी जगह है फैट, ये थोड़ा सा रिड्यूस आसानी से होता है, पर सेंट्रल ओबेसिटी को रिड्यूस करना थोड़ा सा मुश्किल होता है। तो उसके लिए लॉन्ग रन प्लान चाहिए। जस्ट 1 month इज नॉट सफिशिएंट और 1.5 month इज नॉट सफिशिएंट। जैसे ये धीरे धीरे आप करते रहेंगे, सो आप उसको पाएंगे कि आपका ये सेंट्रल ओबेसिटी धीरे धीरे कंट्रोल में आ रहा है। स्पेशली आप कपालभाति, उत्तान पादासना, पादहस्तासना, इसको आप अगर प्रैक्टिस करेंगे तो डेफिनेटली आपको ये हेल्प करेगा।
जी भैया, इसको मैं कंटिन्यू करता हूँ। और ये जो लौकी का जूस है, वो भी क्या कुछ इसमें हेल्प करता है क्या?
भैया ऐसा लौकी का जूस और ये सब देखिए, अगर आप अपने घर पे लौकी का वो कर रहे हैं, आप खुद उगा रहे हैं, तब तो ठीक है, आप उसका जूस वगैरह ले लीजिए। लेकिन अगर आप मार्केट पर डिपेंडेंट हैं,
जी जी
so it is very difficult to understand that what kind of things they are using, because many a times we find that the these plants are injected with some hormones and some high fertilizers, because they need the crop very early. This is all for the selling and marketing. So now we are very careful of recommending the raw this vegetable juice, because we are not aware of how it is grown, what kind of methods are followed, how much fertilizers, pesticides are poured into this. And when we are saying the person to take juice, so it means he is directly consuming these things also. So some of the cases we found very negative result of advising these kind of raw fruit juices, raw fruit or vegetable juices. But if you have the method, or you have the uh, place where you can find a very organically grown this vegetables, etc., then you can have these things. Otherwise you don't take. By cooking, washing, at least we are reducing some amount. But if you are taking it in a raw form, that is not really safe if you are not aware about how it is cultivated.
yes भैया it is depend market dependent is ना
जी भैया,
so
better you don't take भैया,
okay
because
भैया
I am not sure the source of it. And if you are sure about, if you are confirmed that it is from the good source, organically grown, then you can. Otherwise, don't take.
okay भैया बहुत अच्छा रहा इसको मैं करता हूँ जो आपने बताया है योगा जो कपालभाति और प्राणायाम तो इसको कंटिन्यू करता है बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद भैया बहुत अच्छा सेशन रहा हाँ, नमस्ते भैया
मेरी खुशी भी है
जी भैया तो nice भैया I think with your permission let's call it a day and meet again coming Friday with yet another point to be discussed and taken into our self awareness
जी दीदी
जी तो सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद थैंक यू वेरी मच शुभ रात्रि नमस्ते।